Hello, and welcome to the Designing with Love podcast. I am your host, Jackie Pellegrin, where my goal is to bring you information, tips, and tricks as an instructional designer. Hello, GCU students, alumni, and fellow educators. Welcome to episode 39 of the Designing with Love podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Tommy Kilpatrick, a retired teacher and author who lives in the Philippines. Welcome, Tommy.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on my show today. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. I always like to talk about myself, of course. Let's see. I was born and raised in California, and ended up going to college as a double major for accounting and abnormal psychology, which sounds pretty crazy, but I worked at Napa State Mental Hospital with autistic children, and the time was like 1975. There was only 5 children in this northern state of California that were autistic, enough to be in a hospital. And now the rates are like 1 in 12 in California. So something's very seriously going on with our autism. So I have a real strong connection to the autistic. And I had psychiatrists come and tell me I've never seen anyone relate to these kids like you do. So these kids were psychotic. They did not relate with you. They couldn't carry on a conversation. And one kid would just tear paper in half and put it through a fence, reach through, pick it back, cut it in half again, or tear it again in half, put it back through the fence. I did what he did for hours. Yeah, I'm being paid.
Oh my goodness.
So what do I care? I'm just doing what he's doing. Another kid would pick sand up, and he would put the sand in and let it fall through his hand to the ground. And that's all he did all day long. But he did it into the sun. I would notice a pattern that he would do, and he's enjoying something. I'm doing the same thing. I don't see it. And
wow.
So years later, I turn into a commercial diver. I'm offshore, 68 miles offshore, holding a diver's hose for hours, staring out into the water. And all of a sudden, I see a hallucination. And that's what I immediately said, oh, that's what the kid was doing with the sand. Those little particles were going through the sun and they were dancing. And that's what I got. So I went, oh my gosh. So years later, these experiences come back in my life. So I ended up being quite an entrepreneur. When I was about 7, I was baking cookies and cake and making Kool-Aid. And when my friends didn't have money to buy my food, I would have them go out and find me 3 customers and I'll give you a piece for free. So I motivated them to bring customers to me. And then when I was 15, I was working as a diver in Dana Point, and we would scrape barnacles off the boat and all kinds of work underwater. And I was making $165 a week when my friends were working at McDonald's, barely making $35 or $40 a week. So I actually had my own motorcycle, and I had a license to drive a motorcycle at 15 because I had driver's education. But there was a little provision. If you had driver's education, you could get a motorcycle license if you didn't drive on the freeway and you didn't carry a passenger and you didn't drive at night. Well, of course, I did all 3. And but I had to drive to high school on my motorcycle to learn how to drive a car.
Oh, wow.
So later on, I got a car license after I had already had a motorcycle license. So then, then I went to college. Oh, I graduated early. I had enough credits. So I graduated in January. And then I turned 17 about 2 weeks before that. And then I entered into a contract. I bought my own Mazda RX-3. And it was a nice little sports car kind of looking like. And I had $1,000 cash. And you should have seen the eyes of those salesmen when I came up. A 17-year-old kid walks in with a pile of cash, says, I want that car. Okay, sign a contract. You can't do that. I was under 18, but I signed. I had a car payment at 17. And then I moved out of my parents' house about 2 months after that and into an apartment. I had my own apartment down in Long Beach, First and Orange. And it was $95 a month and included utilities and had a Murphy bed. So the bed would come down, I'd sleep on it, push it back up and turn it around. And it was my bed, it was my living room. So the living room turned into a bedroom.
Yeah.
And so after about it, and then I got a job as an insurance investigator. I lied. I told them I was 19. They looked at my driver's license. They knew I was 17. They knew I lied. They hired me anyway. So I became an insurance investigator, and I would go out to people's homes or their car or their business and take pictures. I was the eyes of the insurance companies so they could see what was really reality. They wanted a second opinion. And so I gave that to them. And after about 6 months, I had the job down so well, I only worked about 2 or 3 hours a day. And then I would get home, I'd ride my bicycle down to the beach, suntan, and maybe shoot pool, whatever, just relax. After
Wow,
about a year of
that's
that,
great.
after about a year of that, I looked at the other guys who were 40 and 50 years old going, I don't want to be that way in 40 years. I don't want to be doing the same thing. So I said, okay, my dad's a CPA. I'll take over his practice. He's already built an established business. I'll go to college. I'm good at math. So that's my direction. But then a deaf guy came into the tutoring room and he had an interpreter. So he had lost his hearing when he was about 4, so he could talk. So I would talk, she'd sign to him, and then he would talk to me. And I thought, well, wait a second. If I learned sign language, then I could have the interpreter talk, and then I could talk to him. And then he became a friend and my neighbor. He lived right next to me. So then I learned sign language, and I went to the counselor and said, I'm really excited about sign language. What do I do? Oh, be a social worker. Okay. So I changed my major to social work, moved to San Francisco, and I am not a social worker. So right about 2 classes right before I graduated, I took a walk and never came back. So been on a lot of different adventures. I wrote books, and I'm an author. I write every day. So, and then also was involved in education because I would teach how to do this healing thing. And then we'll talk about this in a little bit, but I actually was part of a founding members of a charter school. So I'm actually part of creating your own public school. And I taught there for 10 years because my daughter went there and my son went there. So, yep. So I have a lot of knowledge and experience of private education. I was never a school teacher because I didn't have a credential, but I've done it.
Right.
So that's a little bit about me, I guess.
Great. Well, thank you, Tommy. That's great. And
Sure.
you mentioned the process of what it took to get a public school. That must have been quite an adventure trying to do that and trying to figure out how the systems work because you have all the different legal avenues, right? And you have the state and things like that you have to navigate. So I'm sure that that's got to be complex and unfortunately probably red tape that you have to go through. So what did you find that was the most challenging with that part of it? And maybe what was the most rewarding with that experience for you that you could share with our audience?
It's exactly what you said. You're right on. This was there was a ballot initiative in California for the voucher. People were upset with a poor education and wanted an alternative. So somebody put a ballot initiative on, and it might pass. The problem is that if it passed, the public schools would not be able to take a voucher. So the legislature, in anticipation, they passed a charter school law that would allow schools and school districts to become chartered. Oh, now they can, because if they get approval by the school board, it's all correct, all cool. Now you take the voucher. Now nothing changes. This is the whole plan. We don't change anything. We like what is going on. We like what's going on. We like our power. So we're not going to give that up. So yes. Then one of our ladies in the community had thought of trying to start a magnet school, but was turned down by the school district, school board. Everything was against her, trying to get something, more educational. And she thought, oh, well, why don't we just start our own charter school? So 53 families got together and we decided to start our own public school. So we had you have to give a proposal, and we laid it all out. And ours was going to be different. We wanted to be, first of all, small class sizes. They were looking at 30 to 35. We wanted ours 15. So you can't do that with a huge overhead. But
Right.
You do the math. We got $5,000 per kid. If we have 100 kids, we got enough. And then we didn't have to have a school. We didn't pay for a school because we could use the school districts, empty schools, because they had empty classrooms that were not being used. So we could use that.
Oh.
The second one is developmental. We didn't want to do what we did. You're in a classroom, you're bored to death because you're way ahead, or you're bored to death because you don't get it. And either spectrum, you're lost. They only would teach to the middle. As long
Right.
as, and if you couldn't keep up, you'd just be sit back and come back next year. You need another year of this. Or again, you'd be causing problems like me because I had a little bit of head. I was always getting out of my chair. They one time tied me down. It sounds terrible, but it really was. It was just a rope that tied me down in the chair. It wasn't that tight or anything, but it was just a symbol. Stay in your chair, Tommy. No, I'm a boy. I get up. I got energy. So I remember that. It was funny. It wasn't traumatic at all. It was just entertaining to me. So
that's funny that you did mention that. Yeah.
And then,
wow.
The third thing is parent participation. Because the parents were not involved, why should they? They're not interested in kids' education. We didn't want those kind of parents. We wanted parents who were required to participate. Now, that doesn't mean they had to be at the school. There's lots of things that need to be done outside the school. It could mean that you could do an extracurricular activity. Like one of the dads was a Marine. And so we would have a class at an after-school program where we would take these kids like Boy Scouts and take them in the desert. We would walk on. He'd point down, look at that mark right there. What's that from? And they'd say a snake. Okay, think about a snake. It moves this way. That's a straight line. Okay, a lizard. Right. A lizard has a tail, and there's your feet. So he would teach them basic skills and things like that. It could never have been done in a typical public school. We had art because many of our moms and dads were artists. So they would bring the artwork in. And so and then the path, oh my gosh, it took us pressure, and it required basically all of us in the school board meeting to put the pressure on that board to pass. They didn't want to. Oh no, they don't want us because we're not in the system. And they tried to stretch the meeting out. We were at midnight and we didn't leave. And so they had to throw their hands up and said, okay, you can have the charter law. You get it for 5 years. We'll come back and review and we'll see what happens. And they would hopefully fail. Well, within 2 months, all of our credentialed teachers quit.
Oh my gosh.
It created a crisis. All of our teachers quit. What are we going to do? And so we had a meeting at our school, and one of the vice president or something underneath the vice superintendent, he came down and he said, look, folks, I tell you what, dissolve your charter school and we'll give you a magnet school. And so people are going, well, yeah, I don't want this hassle. I don't want to do all this work. Let's go that way. I got up and I pointed out that this guy is a salesman. He's selling you. What we have is a charter school. Yeah, we got problems. So what? In 5 years, we can come back and dissolve this. But let's hang it. We've got to. He's selling you something he doesn't have. Don't trust this guy. And we won by one vote. One vote would have ended our public school adventure in just 2 months. But we recovered. We learned our mistakes. Of course, you're going to make mistakes, catastrophic mistakes.
Right.
And we got along about 4 years. And guess what happened? All the teachers quit. And people were telling me, Tom, you did such a great job. Get back up there and talk. I said, no. Why? Oh, we're in wave 4. What? Well, you've heard of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Right.
We've all heard of that, right? It misdescribes it immediately. What is 1 step forward, 1 step back? 1 step forward, and see how long that was? 1 step back, 1 step forward. And that's a 5 pattern. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And knowing that that was a critical point. Number 2, when we had lost all of our teachers, that's when I had to speak, had to get up and be passionate and do that. When we were at wave 4, we already had a school. It's not going to threaten because you see, wave 1 goes up. If it goes down below, it goes away.
Right.
So we made it. We're fine. So I knew where we were in the pattern. And that's called a Elliott wave theory. It's used primarily in financials and stuff like that. Because of my accounting background and my all that kind of stuff, I had that knowledge. So I said no. And sure enough, we won. There was no problem. We moved on.
Wow.
We got new teachers.
That's amazing that
functioning. today.
Yeah.
It's still going on today. And was
So,
formed in 1993.
wow, and it's still there. Wow, that's amazing. And all it took was one vote. So they say one vote can make a difference, right? And sometimes people
And,
think, well, it doesn't matter, but it really does.
well,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And it depends on you getting up. You got to get off your seat and get up there and be passionate about what you believe.
Right. That's so true. Yeah. Passion, yeah, does make a difference. Absolutely. Yeah. And before
And
we
I love
started, yeah.
words.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop right there. I love words. You said passion. Pash means suffering or enduring. Ion means a little. So to have a passion, you've got to have a little bit of misery. You got to have a little bit of enduring, a little bit of, just something about it, but not a lot, because then it's torture. So that's what
Mm.
motivates us is we're not satisfied. Just a little bit better. Come on, we can do it. And that's your
Oh,
passion.
yeah.
So follow your passion because you know
Wow.
something irritates you.
I love that. No, I didn't think of passion that way, but it's true. It keeps you motivated to keep making things better and keep striving, right? Because if we're, as they say, if we're stagnant and we're not going anywhere and we're just not going to be satisfied. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Things are not always going to go how we plan, but we sometimes we have to pivot, but we can make the best of it, and with the Lord's help we can do it, right? So that's great.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know before we started recording, we were talking about our faith, and as a lot of my listeners know, I'm a Christian. I grew up Catholic, and I'm not sure where your faith background is, but did you want to kind of talk a little bit about, because that's what drew us together to have you come on the show, is that faith background and things like that. So did you want to talk a little bit about like your background and that, and then we can kind of go into some different faith-based questions as well? Hello, I have some exciting news to share with all of my listeners. There is a feature called Fan Mail. What this allows you to do is send me a text message anytime during the episode. There's a link located at the top of the description in each episode, and it says Send Jackie a Text Message. So when you click on that link, you'll be able to send me a message letting me know what you thought about the episode and if you have any ideas for future episode content as well. I look forward to seeing your text messages. Thank you.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I was raised in a Episcopal family, and so we went to the Episcopal church, and we would go every Sunday. And my mom and dad really liked this pastor, and he was a great guy. And I was, as I said, I'm trying to think the right word. I was really highly interested in education and learning. So at age 4, my mom had the pastor lie about my birth date and created a baptismal on a different day that allowed me to get into school. So instead of a January birth date, I was a November, which allowed me to get in school at 4. So I started a year younger than anybody else. And so right from there, I got some support and help from the church in that sense of a lie. But then again, when the Nazis are banging on the door, the Christians write things and say, no, I have no idea who you're looking for. And you're hiding the Jewish people in the basement, willing to die to save someone else. So that's really what your Christian faith is. So then my mom said, I want you to be confirmed in a church. And I said, okay, on condition you don't ask me to do anything else. So I wanted my independence. I wanted my freedom. Okay, you want me to do this, then I get to do what I want to do. So I was a good boy. My brother I had 2 older brothers, and they were kind of a little bit of a misfit, a little bit of brothers are. But I was a nice kid. I came along, I saw what was going on, so I was very nice. So she agreed to that. So I got confirmed in the church. And then I saw some really attractive ladies in the high school in the Jesus, kind of like the little Jesus group. So I got a Bible, started hanging out with her. And so I was hanging with for the women, but that didn't work out. So, and then, yeah. And then I went to college and basically became a Satanist.
Oh, gosh. So
Oh my, yeah.
you went another
Um,
direction completely.
you look at
Yeah.
Karl Marx, and he was a Satanist, but he was studying to be a preacher. So at 17, he was a Christian, and then 18, he got involved in something and went totally the other way. And so then
Oh, wow.
trying to think, Charles Darwin, he too was in school, and they took off on that ship, and then he became a Satanist. So I say that not in a sense that I was ritually doing it. I was got involved in a political organization, which was socialist, and it was in 1975. And my friend became a member of this Young Socialist Alliance, and he needed a bookkeeper, knowing that I had an accounting background and I needed the experience of doing bookkeeping. So I became the bookkeeper for this organization. And then I studied some more with it, and I had my viewpoint at the time was either we're going to have nuclear war or be with the Nazis. That was my only viewpoint of the future. I had not had a positive viewpoint from what I had seen. Since I was 10, I was shipping cookies to Vietnam. So at the dinner table, we had conversations about the Vietnam War and about the death. And I would watch every Thursday, and I would count how many soldiers would be dead and then how many of the Viet Cong were killed. And I'm going, this math doesn't add up. We can't keep losing 200 guys and keep killing 2,000, 3,000 of them. It just, where do these people come from? So I knew they were
Right.
lying to me. I knew back in a 10 that Lyndon Johnson was lying to me. So I really had a real negative viewpoint towards it all. So this organization was educational, and we couldn't do anything illegal because we knew the FBI was involved with us. We knew next to you was an FBI agent. And if you did anything illegal, we'd be arrested and we'd be all in jail. So we didn't do anything illegal. That was really, really super important. So it only took me until about 10 years ago to realize I was part of a Satanist organization. So that's why I wanted to be scary and something abrupt with you to say I was part of it, because my dad was a Mason and his dad was a Mason. But the Masons are also Satanists because not in the beginning, they don't tell
Yeah.
you all that stuff. And you keep moving up the levels, you keep moving up the level. And all of a sudden,
All of a
they
sudden.
show what really they are. And that's what happens with the communists, with the socialists, with the Nazis. So I have a very simple thing is that God loves us, right?
Right. He does.
In Hebrew, the word love means I give. So God gave us life, right?
Right.
What a gift. So if you're with God, you are giving. If you are not with God, you're not. So you could be a Satanist, but you're not. So you're not with God. So who is the number one enemy of God? Satan,
Satan.
right? Everything you see out there is Satanist. If they're not with you, if they're not giving, if they're not producing food, if they're not raising animals, if they're not doing care for other people, then they are not loving. You've got to stay away from those people. And we have to stay focused here. So what's going on at all the news and stuff? Satanism.
Yeah.
You see the dancing of Satan at the Grammy Awards. I didn't watch the Grammy Awards, but I heard about it, had to watch that last little bit of their ceremony. And it's obvious. I didn't watch the ceremonies of the Paris Olympics, but
Yeah.
I saw that clip, and there
Me
was
too.
Satanism. They are so open. And I
Yeah.
have come across people who were Satanists, who left, and they said, you know what? I don't want part of this anymore. I'm leaving. They said, go away. It's okay. Well, I'm going to tell everybody what you're doing. Go ahead. We don't care. Because the Satanists know they're going to win. It doesn't matter. They got time on their hand. And so are the Muslims. The Muslims are Satanists too. They're not part of our religion. They're not part of the Abrahamic religion. They are a cult. For 1,400 years, they were called Mohammedites. And there's not any proof that Muhammad actually existed. So I may be crossing a little bit too much for it, but I'm just telling you, either you're with God or you're not. So that's where I'm coming from. So that's a little of my background. So I'm a believer.
Wow.
I'm in a Christian country, and you'll find that most of them are not practicing, even though they may go to church. They do behavior things. I'm trying to meet a lady here. A sawa is what we say here for a wife. And I meet 40-year-olds or 50-year-olds, and they've got a 10-year-old or a 4-year-old, and there's no husband. So It's yeah, they're practicing, maybe not, but they are Christians. So I want to be here. This is the place I want to be because I feel safe. So that's why I came all the
amazing.
way to the Philippines. Yep.
Yeah. How long have you been out there
Oh,
in the Philippines now? You said 7 months before we
yeah,
got on here,
yeah,
right? 7 months.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
About
So
7 months.
I was in
Yeah.
a marriage of 28 years, and then the wife said, "Get out and take the dog with you," because in America, men are what I say is garbage. We're useless. We're not needed. And you might disagree, but that's from my point of view, from what I've lived through. And so I started taking a walk, and I walked in faith. Oh, let me back that up a little bit. So about 5 years before that, I woke up one morning and went, "Okay, God, I believe." I don't know. The pressure was there that morning. I went, "Okay, I believe." And that's what took for me to get back to my Christian roots. Is one
Wow.
morning I got out of bed and it just said, "Okay, I'll stop resisting." And that led me into, the direction. So when the wife said, "Get out, take the dog with you," I saw it as a blessing. Thank you very much. Put a
Yeah.
backpack on and started walking. Ended up in Sedona, and I was with a Christian family, an evangelical family who had been on the streets preaching. And at that time, she had 6 children. And then when she had her seventh child, then the God told them to create a bakery in their home, and they are allowed to do that in Arizona, a home bakery. And I met
Right.
them at a farmer's market, and I walked to the farmer's market. She had a whole table full of bread, and then I walk around a little bit. I come back, and almost all the bread is gone. I'm going, "How did this all happen?" She said, "Well, God told us to be a bakery, and what we do, we take the grain and we crush it into flour and we bake it, and it has all the nutrients, has all the things. Even if you are gluten intolerant, not the other one, but if you're gluten intolerant, then you can eat our bread." And sure enough, I said, "I'll give you a year." So I had some money from my business, so I bought a motorhome. I lived in that, and right outside of Phoenix, so it was very nice and hot or
Yep. And
cold.
I
There
know
was
that.
snow. There
Yeah.
was snow in the winter. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
I know
100.
that weather.
I,
Hmm.
I, I took my thermometer, my little portable thing you point at, my pointer thermometer. It was 130 degrees outside my motorhome. Inside was 110. Even with the AC going, I had to take
Yeah.
4 cold showers a day just to survive. I'm never going to do this. And here I am in the Philippines. But it's not that bad. It's bad, but not that bad. So
Yeah. It's not as
then,
hot. Yeah.
yeah. So then I helped them sell their bread at the markets. And so it took them from $200 to like $500, $700 a day. I would call 200 people and get pre-orders so they knew what kind of bread to bake that week. And so we would deliver it or have it there at the market for them. So the year came up. It was time for me to move on. And they said, "God spoke to us. You got to go east." So I went, "Okay, I'm going east." So I looked in the Craigslist, and this guy was from Michigan. He's a body shop kind of guy. He bought 2 cars, 2 different auctions because they have no rust where you're at. So it's a certain kind of car that he knows how to work on. So he bought one and drove it up because he flies there, and he drove the car to me. And he and I got in a car, and we're going to go to another auction site for me to follow him back to Michigan. So I gave the family my motorhome. I emptied all my pockets of all my money and gave it to them because I
Wow.
believe you cannot fill your pockets up unless they're empty. And you know what they did? They handed me an envelope of money. So then off we went to Michigan, and then I ended up to a farm in Connecticut, in Old Saybrook, Connecticut.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they had no running water, no heat, no electricity, and it was a hay house. It was built of hay bales covered in plaster. So the only way I had heat was from the candles. The stubs from the Catholic Church donated the stub candles to this guy, and so he had a farm there. So I did the organic gardening there with him and sold products at the farmers market. And then a lady came by with a 2-year-old son, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to Maine. Why don't you come with me?" So I went to Maine and hung out there for 10 years, and then raised her son from 2 to 11, and then was a home teacher. We did our homeschooling. And then she decided to have fun with a neighbor. And here I am. So I came to the Philippines to
Mm.
find a wife. And what I do is I teach farmers how to build dome houses with bamboo. So it's free housing. I
Oh,
teach
wow.
vertical gardening. So how to get your food vertically instead of bending over. And I'm here to open up free medical clinics for the community. So I'm an author, so I'm writing books now. It's on Amazon. So if I sell books, the money there goes to do what I'm doing here. So that's my project.
Wow.
I've got 20 years from now, I'll be old and gray, then I'll retire, but I've got too much energy. I wake up
Yeah.
every day full of life, ready to go. So that's a little
God's,
my
yeah.
Christian faith. So every day I wake up blessed, thanking God I'm alive. And what can I do for his purpose? I only do
For,
things what God wants me to do. God provides everything. I don't ask for anything. I don't need anything. I don't want anything. God puts people in my place for a reason and purpose. I'm to figure that out. What's the reason that you're in my life? So
right.
how can we make this better? How can we move
That's,
this forward? So that's why I'm all excited.
that's great. I love that. Yeah. And you were able to touch so many lives with what you do. So that's amazing. So you talked about this a little bit. What does it look like to integrate your faith into your everyday work? What you talked about, especially in environments that may not be faith centered, where you go out there and you realize that they don't have that faith that you have or a similar faith.
A couple of things. One, I like to engage myself with the enemy since I really wasn't a Satanist in a sense that you would think just because I was involved in an organization, it was. But you're still a Satanist if you're part of the organization. So I like to seek out and find out atheists. They're my favorite people to talk to because atheist is anti the ist. So ist is a word we use at the end to describe something. So it's the one, the God, the word. So we're talking about God is the. So it's that every word we see is God. I see it when we start the word the. So here I have an anti the. So before I can disagree with a person, we have to have some form of agreement. English is good to start with. I'm learning that language here, Filipino, but I couldn't really debate it in that language. So I have to stick it with English. So if we agree we can speak in English, then I need them to agree to the definition of create. And so I just ask them, what's the definition of create? And they can look it up. They can know, make, produce, come about, come into existence. Sure. Okay. Then you just have to ask them a simple question. The questions control the conversation. Were you created? Oh my
Yes.
gosh. They've never been asked
Mm.
that question before. They
Yeah.
can't say no because they would look like a complete idiot. They got to say yes because if they said no, your mother, father didn't create you. You weren't born. But I came across one person who said that, not said it, but wrote it in a book. And that one person was Karl Marx. I've done a lot of studying now. So in a book, he said, I was not created.
Wow.
So the only person you can find, and I keep mentioning this because the number one book that is read in the college, all broad-case, all disciplines, besides bonehead English, so we don't count that one, is the Communist Manifesto. That is
Mm-hmm.
the number one book read by college students. So, oh my gosh, you are feeding your children communism, Satanism. My girlfriend that I was talking about that took me up to Maine, she went to Parsons School of Design. This is like $1 million 4-year education of art. They handed her a saw, they gave her wood and said, make a table. And she had to make a table with just a saw and wood. And that's how difficult. They would start off with, let's say, 200 students. By the end of graduation, there was 50. And they did this on purpose because these people were going to Martha Stewart, Dior, all these high-end designers. That's who they're looking for, is someone who could be a designer for their
Right.
company. They had to be that smart. You know what book she read in college? The Communist Manifesto.
Mm.
Going to that private school, she had to read the Communist Manifesto. The number one person quoted in all papers by professors is Karl Marx. The number two, Lenin. So that's where I'm dealing with these atheists. They go 75%. I've heard, I can't prove it, but 75% of Christians that go to college come out atheists. So that is, how do we get these atheists back on our side? Ask them the question, were you created? They've got to say yes. Oh, okay. Then was I created? So you got to get them practice to saying yes. Yes. Was that dog over there created? Yes. Was that tree created? Yes. Was the concrete, the rock created? Yes. So in English, we use EE to be the lesser and OR to be the superior, as in lease. I'm a lease E, or you could be a lease or. There's a trust E and a trust or. There's a governed by the governor. So if you are a createe, then is there a creator?
Yes.
What are they going to say?
Yeah.
They got to
Exactly.
say yes. Okay.
Right.
Now they're in a panic. They've been trained to be anti-God. So they're going to go going, oh, no, no, no. I don't want to believe in some white guy in the clouds that's going to tell me what to do. Because the whole reason is not to be disciplined, not to learn, not to be, I don't eat meat. I got along with, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't take drugs, I don't do prescription drugs. I have a long list of no's because that keeps me focused and centered on what's most important is God. So that's just me. So that's where that's kind of where I started. I get the atheist to then admit that. So then I say, okay, wait, before you go in a panic, God could be a noun, right? Okay. And a noun is what? I always say a person, place, or thing. Okay. If it's a person, we kind of like to make it look like ourselves, right? So God is in our image because that's what they're taught, right? You,
Right.
human, make God in your image. So I'm going to play along with them and say, well, we made God to make us fit. Because if you notice, if you've been to China, like I have, and you see the pictures of Jesus there, they actually has a little bit of a look to them that looks like them. So we modify Jesus to make us look like the God for us. I said, okay, it could be, but then it's kind of hard to swallow the India religion with the elephant and the extra hands. But if you're born in that culture, you don't think anything of it. That's God. Okay. But for us to go and believe that, God is kind of a hard sell. Okay.
Yeah.
Then
It is.
it's a person, a place. So where could God be? If it's a place, if God's a place, where could it be? And well, it could be everywhere, right? Or nowhere. Nowhere. Put a space between nowhere. What do you have? Now, here.
Mm.
So God is nowhere. No, God is now here. So God is everywhere. We know from our physics is that the atom and the nucleus with the nucleus and the electron being apart, that distance is like 20 miles when we put in our scale here. God is everything in between and is all the particles. So you're part of God, God's part of you. Oh, okay. So that's where God's everywhere. Okay. Then it could be a thing. God could be a thing. Yeah. Water. Life cannot exist without water. So why not make God water? You're part of God. God's part of you. Okay. God could be a verb. And what's a verb? Action. So couldn't God be electricity? Couldn't God be the energy that's all around us? Everything in between and that part of us? No.
Yeah.
And it could be a concept. So there you go. What I say when people ask me, what is God? I say, it's beyond thought. I cannot conceive it. It's beyond me. But how do you know? Faith. Faith is belief without evidence. I don't have to have evidence. So I explain to the atheists that they cannot use the word believe. They cannot use the word confidence. There's I figured it out, 20, 30 words they cannot use because they're all faith-based. So once they realize they're going to keep thinking that way, they're not logical. So all they can do is figure out what you think God is. That's fine. Now do God's work of being, first of all, thankful, but to create. You're here to make things happen, grow food, grow animals, help other people, do something positive. Don't do the easy thing by destruction. That's all we see in the news today. We see them taking a hammer out, pounding concrete curb to throw rocks at the cops. That's destruction. They are destroying our family, they're destroying our society, they're destroying our world, and it's growing. It's not shrinking. So we Christians have to come together and be able to educate our children who are being sent to satanic schools. Well, when they teach the Communist Manifesto and they quote Karl Marx and Lenin, we're sending them right into Satan's den. And what do you expect when they come out? And here we are years and years later. So,
right.
a little bit
Oh
my
my
opinion.
goodness. Yeah, that's good.
Not
Yeah, and
expecting
being
that way,
able to,
Jackie.
being able to integrate your faith is, being able to have those conversations. Yeah, that's so important. So that's great. And as we were talking, some verses came to mind. So that makes me think of the next question. Are there specific biblical principles or verses that guide how you approach your work and when you lead others through that?
Mm-hmm. I've always think of John 8:32. So speak. See, you got me on the spot. So my brain, the blood left my frontal cortex. So I'm forgetting it. But
That's okay.
the truth will set you free. The truth will set you
Yes.
free. That's what it is. So I like those. So yeah, there are many right now that run through my head. But I do study the Bible. But actually, I study it in Hebrew. So the first three words are Bereshith, Bara, Elohim. So Bereshith means in the beginning. And I like to start in the beginning. Bara means to create. Create. We were just talking about that, weren't we? So, but
Yes.
here it's a noun or a verb. So you can use it either way. Elohim means God. Okay.
Right.
So in the beginning, God created that as a noun. And that can lead you to deism. Now, deism is what Einstein believed. He believed God created the world and left. He's gone. So yeah, there was a creator, but not involved anymore. He got the ball started and he's gone. Okay, that's where you have it. If God created the world, but if you change that back to a verb, God is creating the world. Well, then you're a theist. Then you have an involved God, and that's what I am. I'm a theist. So I believe there's an involved God. And I believe that we have a holy contract. Did I actually come up with that? I came up with a holy contract, but I came across something that said we were with God before we got here. And all these loving souls, because God only has love all around it, and you wanted to do something while you're here. And you made a deal with God and his souls, and your life has unfolded. And when you're born, you forget all the contracts you made. So all of the evil, rotten things that have ever happened to me, I asked for it. It was my responsibility. I wanted to live through it. I wanted to experience that God's approval, and the souls loved me so much they would be mean and cruel to me to make me feel that so I could grow as a person. So everything that's ever happened to me has all been over the purpose and a reason. So when I cross paths with people who are not believers, very simply within minutes, I have them be a believer. I don't care what they believe. At least they're not an atheist anymore. They're not in the Satanist world. So then they can start coming over with me, start building houses, start growing food for people, start being involved in my medical clinic. So anybody that crosses my path, they can be involved and with something positive and faith-based. So
right. And it
that's
changes their lives. Yeah. And it really changes their lives and changes those that they're around too. Yeah. Has a positive impact. I love that. Yeah.
And that's what makes you happy. Happiness comes from helping someone else change their life. So I was explaining to my Filipina friend here that what we do in America is we're in line like at McDonald's in the car line there in the drive-thru, and we drive up, say, how much is it? Oh, the car ahead of you paid. Oh, well, then maybe pay the guy behind. So again, that pay it forward. And that's what I do. I walk around, I buy bread off a little stand here, I'll have them in bags, and I'll walk up to people and I'll say, Ista ka regala halim. See, I got to remember it. Sa lakon sa imo. That means a gift from me to you. So I go to people who really deserve. I see a lady sweeping the street, clean the street. I walk up to her, I say that to her, and I kind of bow a little bit. And I present the gift to her, and it's just really welcome. So that's again, we want to do acts of random kindness, and it's not typical here in the Philippines. They just don't do that. Americans complain, well, they don't hold the door open for you. No, they walk through a door. The door is open and closed. It's not for me to hold the door for you. So people think that's rudeness. No, it's just the way they are.
It's
So
their
I'm
culture.
going to,
Yeah.
right. So I'm going to have pesos because they don't have any. And I will buy her something so that she can have gifts to give away. So we're going to go see her mom today. And so we're going to present her a bottle of wine. Her mother has always wanted a bottle of wine, a red wine. She thinks it's healthy. Okay. So we're going to get her a bottle of wine and meet her up at a church. Or if she doesn't make it, we'll go to her house and deliver a gift from me, the foreigner, as a gift for her.
Wow. That's amazing. I love that, Tommy.
So,
That's great. Yeah.
giving and making
Yeah.
someone else's life better. If you can make someone else's life better, you reflect on it later, and you don't need to get credit. A lot of times I give things and I walk away. And
Right.
I was at a trade show. There was a little travel trade show here. I love the trade shows, walking around. And I talked to these nice ladies there. I was playing with my Hiligaynon, practicing my language. Then I went to the next booth, and it was a mango drink. Oh, I love mango drinks. So I had one. I went, make that two. So then he made a second one, and I went over and I said the same thing to Istika, Regala, Hagin, Aksa, Ikon, Sa, Imo. And I walked away. See, there's no string attached. Enjoy the drink.
Yeah.
So making a change in someone's life makes you happy when you think about it later.
It's those little things that can sometimes make a huge difference, because you never know. Someone could be in their darkest moment, ready to, who knows what, do what, right? And you could be that person making that positive change in them. And they say even just a smile or just a hello can make a huge difference, because they may feel like they're ignored and they don't have purpose in life, but then you can bring that purpose back into their life and know that they're loved and that God loves them too. So that's great. I love that. Yeah.
And we know that from a homeless guy getting a pair of gloves and someone cared and they turned their life around. We've had those stories. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's great.
Acts of random kindness. So that's why I want to kind of bring here in the Philippines, integrate that into culture. Just one guy to start.
Yeah.
So what? It just takes one. It's got to start somewhere. It starts with you.
Right. Exactly. And then before you know it, you're spreading that to others, and then they're replicating what you're doing. So before you know it, you're shifting the culture in a positive way, and that's great. Yeah. So it's neat. I love that. Great.
So I had my Filipina watch Pay It Forward, and she'd never seen. She's watched a lot of movies. She knows a lot more movies than I do, but she didn't see that one. That was an eye opener to see how one kid could have an impact.
Right. That's amazing. So she must have really, like you said, eye-opening for her, and really brought that concept into more of a reality for her, because it's based on a true story. So yeah, that's great. I love that. So how do you maintain your Christian values when faced with challenges, ethical dilemmas, or difficult people, like you've mentioned a little bit earlier, those difficult people?
Oh, yeah. First of all, when I wake up, I say a prayer, but the prayer, I never ask for anything. It's always for thankfulness. I'm just, it's an attitude of gratitude. So every morning I start off with an attitude of gratitude. And it's like, what can I do to make the world better? Because if I'm loving, I'm giving. So when I say giving, it doesn't mean that there's a free lunch. So I have developed a way to feed people for free, but they have to do something. My free clinic here is going to be free, but the Filipino has to give me an egg, has to give me a chicken, has to sweep the street in front, has to do something. So I think of a movie, The Lone Ranger, and Tonto, the Indian, he comes up to the body of a dead guy and he wants the boots. So he takes the boots off and he leaves him a feather. There's always has to be an exchange. So then when he's standing in a museum as a prop, he then leans down and grabs a kid's popcorn and gives him a dead mouse. So it's the Indian way to give across. So you might say, Tom, you're not being politically correct. They're Indians. The Indians have told me, I've been with the Navajos and I've been with the Mackinacs up in Maine and with many, and they say if we identify differently, we don't get our funding. We have to stay because it's the Bureau of Indian Affairs. It's the American Indian Movement. Don't start calling us that because we'll lose our funding. So you might not agree with that, but they don't care what you call them as long as you have the right intent. So we actually had an Indian medicine man hang out on our farm there in Maine. for many years and would teach us the native ways and what the plants would do. And he taught us that one plant was growing as a weed. He says, that's not a weed. It will cure you of any kind of a lung infection. So we would purposely grow it, and then we would dry it. And then when the COVID came along, at first my girlfriend was going, there's something weird happening over in that town. Now, I didn't leave the farm 12 times over 6 years. I was going to die there. Just bury me in the back. We had 32 acres. Everything was wonderful. And so she said, something's going on in that town. They're getting sick, and they're staying sick for several weeks. I'm not going there. I said, I agree. Don't go there. And then later we find out it's this thing called COVID. And then they're talking about this lung infection, this pneumonia. And then when we would start to cough for a little bit, we would lay that on our wood stove, and it would burn and it would fill the room up with a little bit of smoke, kind of like an incense, call it incense. And we'd breathe it in and no lung infection. So we actually had the antidote to the COVID long back then. And then we got together at a party for the medicine man because he was stuck in Florida during the lockdown. And lockdown is a prison term. So we are prisoners. So he was there, and then he came back, and we had a party to welcome him back. So I showed up one of the few times I left the farm. And I walked up, and people were at distance. And I went, what's going on here? I put my hand to shake a guy that I had never met before. I tried to shake his hand. He pulled his hand back. Oh, what the hell is going on here? What's wrong with you people? Oh, we got to stay 6 feet. 6 feet? That's 72 inches. How do you know this? 73, 71? And then the medicine man's wife came up and says, you're a Republican. You just want people to die. And I went, what the hell is going on here? You've got the insanity virus. Am I in some Outer Limits or a Twilight Zone episode?
Right.
And I go over to the medicine man and said, can I shake your hand? He said, sure. Can I be close to you? He said, sure. I went, yeah, we're normal. They're abnormal. So right from back then, I knew something was going on. And I'm here to actually help save the Filipino people. 79 million people have been jabbed with that, what I believe is a bioterror weapon that they injected in people. So I have the antidote. I take the antidote. I use it. I'm here to help the people. So, yeah. No, I've got a bigger cause above. So that's what keeps me based on my faith. So if you're not with God, you're not with me. So I don't have to be in touch with you. I don't have to be in contact with you. I don't want to be crossing. I don't want to be involved with you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
But then I leave it open. If they have a question, sure. The question is what they want, information. And I just ask them back a question. Were you created?
Yeah.
Give me a definition of create in the beginning of that. And then they're all of a sudden a believer. So now I got a believer. Great. Now what do? We're here to help. We're here to do something, make this life better. So what can you do? What are you good at? So how can I get you to be independent, but not independent, interdependent? So we need to be interdependent on everybody. So it's just not wonderful, because when you're independent, you're alone. And that's how I felt for many years, alone and not here. I'm with family now. They welcome me in. It's amazing to be in a country where people smile and they're happy, even though they don't have it. They can be peso poor, but they're love rich. And I ask every single Filipino I can, I say, what makes you happy? And you know what the consistent answer is? Family. They have family. They have their mother. They have their grandmother. They go to work and they pay part for their mother. They pay part for their father's existence. And funny enough it's the law. There's actually a law here that the children have to take care of their parents.
That's amazing. I wish they had that here in the United States. Yeah. We don't take good care of our older people. We don't take good care of our military when they come back from war. And then there's veterans on the street, right, that are homeless and committing suicide because they're not getting the care they need. So it's really sad that we have that.
And that's part of my medical clinic that I want to come back to the American help create, is that I have a drug detox program. That's it's a lockdown. It's not a prison, but it's you don't leave for 30 days. And in 30 days, I can clean the body with our techniques. And then 90 days to clear the mind. So it takes a while to undo your addictive mind. So that's why I was initially going to Argentina. I was going to go to Argentina with $7,000 to open up an import-export business to get a passport. So I was going to buy a farm there. Well, with no money, don't worry about it. It'll come. God provides whatever I need. So I need a farm. So then I go back to Maine, talk to the judge, and I say, these drug addicts are going to redo it. They're going to be recided. They're going to be back to the same old thing. They're going to see them again. I'll tell you what, give them a conditional pardon so they can get a passport and they can leave because they're a convicted felon just of drugs. They're not violent. The Sackler family targeted that area of Maine and they made $15 billion selling their Oxycontin. They gave this end-of-life drug, this painkiller that's for end of life to children. They are so evil. These people are Satanists. Anything evil, Satan. So they did this to that community and devastated it, just like they did to the area of West Virginia. So here I can take them with a conditional pardon to Argentina on a farm to be with God's mother nature. They have to stay away from the city, stay away from everything human-made, and all they can do is be involved with God. They're going to build their own house. I'm going to teach some men how to be men, and then they get their life back together again, and they can come back if they want to. They can stay there forever. They get a passport in 2 years. So their life can be changed dramatically, and we take them out of their toxic, drug-addicted community and be strong again. You don't have a new name. That's really important because they have to change their name to be a differentiation of what happened in the past and they are doing now.
Right. So it's a like they say when we become in Christ, the old passes away, right? We become new. And so that's amazing. And the old passes away, we're new identity in Christ. So yeah, I love that. That's what it made me think of that verse, when the old goes away. Yeah. It's like when God says in the Bible, I'm going to take your hardened heart and then I'm going to make a new heart. I'm going to give you a new heart. So I love that. It's amazing.
In Genesis, the most powerful thing God gave Adam and Eve, the very first task that they were to do was what? Name all the animals and plants. Naming is power. Naming is control. So if you are a drug addict, no, I'm an alcoholic. No, because now you're identifying that. Well, I was a former. No. What are you now? What is this? Isn't it now? So now you pick a new name, pick a new purpose. And so with that new name, you identify with that now. So you are in control. So I'm going to be giving back the power and control to these people who thought there was nothing for them.
Wow, that's amazing. Great. So as we wrap this up, as you know, a lot of my listeners are in education. Some of them are going into instructional design, or they want to do some type of learning development where they help others to be able to make their lives better, right? To whether they go into education or they go into a certain trade or something like that. So what are a couple of tips and advice that you can share with those that are currently in the master's program in instructional design, the courses I teach here at Grand Canyon University?
I'm just learning a language. So I thought if I go to a book, they already know how to speak the language, and they're going to tell me that I have to learn all the syntax and the rules and the grammar. I don't want that. I want to speak the language. I want to connect with people. So I thought, what would be the two most important words to learn? And God and love. So I learned Dios and Palabras. And from there, I developed my language. So I've actually written a book. I've written a book on how to speak Hiligaynon in 30 days, and I did it. Now I'm having it edited so that I make sure the words are Hiligaynon because the computer gave me the wrong words. So, so I'm verifying that. And then I'll send that to my publisher and they'll put the pictures in. I'll make a new book and it'll be ready on Amazon. So what I would say to your audience is you're approaching a situation, a problem. And don't just automatically grab a book and say, here, read the book and solve your problem. How would you do it? How would you want to be taught? And go, oh, okay, I'm actually much more of I have to write things down. And once I write the word down, I got to see it in my head. When I close my eyes and I can spell the word backwards, I know the word. So when I close my eyes, I see the word in my head, I can spell it backwards. And when I can spell it backwards, then I know the word. So that's what kind of started me on this book. So I'm kind of encourage your audience to write your own book, or encourage your students or people involved in it to write the way they would want it to be, because they don't have to follow someone else's direct. They know all the material. That's great.
Right.
But how are you going to learn? What's it make you? Are you an auditory learner? Very few people are. So lectures are worse. It's easy for the person speaking, but to be lectured to, most people don't get it. So we're different learners. We have different styles. So sometimes you have to kind of do it. So I use my hands all the time to reinforce my language, reinforce my words, reinforce my memory. Use other props. Use something that works for you. So if you can pass that on to the next generation, then they're going to go, oh, I don't have to just accept what's in the past. I can write your own book. Because now you can put it on Amazon in in about 3 days, it's published. You upload it, and within 3 days, anyone in the world can buy your book. So my Filipina artist, I'm having her draw, because draws I've told her she has to draw every day. If you're an artist, you got to draw every day. I don't care what it is, just draw. We're going to put 100 or 200 of her drawings into a book. And I'm telling you, in 30 days, she's going to show her mom. Don't tell her now, but tell her mom that she's a published author, and she can type up her name, Amazon, and there's her book.
Wow.
Wow. So that can happen to your students. That can happen to you. I'm talking to you out there. So stay focused on knowing what the word means. God loves you. God means I give. So focus on the giving. And if they're not giving, keep them out of your life. You don't need them near you.
Yeah. Yeah. Focus on the giving. I love that. Thank you, Tommy, for all your wisdom and your insight. And, you've had such a wonderful, colorful life, and as we all have, we have our ups and downs, but it's how we finish our life, right, that matters the most, and how the impact that we made on others. And so I think that's what's beautiful about, the different things that we can do in this life is like you said, how are we making an impact on others, and how are we helping them to get closer to God? Because I think at the end of the day, as Christians, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to bring as many people into the kingdom as we can. So that's beautiful. I love it.
And
great.
And look up the word spirit. Go into the dictionary, look up spirit, and see what it means. And it means to breathe. Now, isn't that funny? God means breath, but we can't live without 4 minutes? We can live how long without water? How long can we live without food? But we can't live without breathing for minutes. So breathing is bringing spirit back. So when you feel you're losing touch, just stop yourself and breathe. It's when we're holding on to things. We're holding on to things. You're not going to be able to hold on and survive. You got to let it go. You got to be the breath. And as we were talking before, I was saying about how you spell God. We can't pronounce God because it has those letters Y, H, and they spell it many different ways. But you know what I'm talking about, Yahweh. It's Yahweh. The breath. Just breathing. That's when you say his name of your breath. So breathe, and that's why you can't pronounce it, because how do you pronounce?
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, pronounce that. Stop pronouncing.
Yeah, you can't. That's true.
So that's what God is. So when you're feeling losing touch, stop and take a breath.
Love it. Thank you
bring
so
God
much.
back into your life. You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking some time to listen to this podcast episode today. Your support means the world to me. If you'd like to help keep the podcast going, you can share it with a friend or colleague, leave a heartfelt review, or offer a monetary contribution. Every act of support, big or small, makes a difference, and I'm truly thankful for you.